Hi, my name is Mr. Cordes, and this is the video for taking annotations. Today, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to go through the process of annotating a text. Annotating really just means interacting with the text. You're going to need a couple things for you before you begin this lesson. The great thing is about watching the video is that you'll be able to pause and stop if you need a little bit extra time to set up your document or to find the articles. At any moment that you need to pause, go ahead and pause. I'll even be telling you when to pause. But ladies and gentlemen, we're going to talk about annotations today. If you have not watched the previous other videos that I attached with this one for annotations, please do so. Those are great, helpful insights as well. What you're going to be doing, we've got a page of focused notes set up for us, or Cornell notes. Sometimes they're called that as well. What you have up over here at the top, you've got your name, you've got your class period, you've got your date. We are working with annotations. We're going to talk about the essential question, and then I kind of have the grid. If you were in a regular classroom, this is where you would like fold the piece of paper and draw the lines. I just set up a table. One column is for notes. The other column is for information. And then there's one at the bottom for summary. You will be doing this on your own. Create a Google Doc or a Word doc and go ahead, pause the video, create this form, and then click play and we can continue. So now that you have set up your page of notes, you should also have an article that was attached with this assignment. The article for yourself is either this one right here about running marathons, or there's this one about saggy pants and dress code. So there are two articles. You should have at least one of them, okay? Don't worry about having both. You should just have one of them. So looking at this, what are annotations? Like I mentioned before, annotations are where you begin to comment and interact with the text. It's kind of like if you go to the movies and you're watching the movie and all of a sudden, you know, the protagonist goes through a door and you're like, don't go through that door. Like, it's the idea of you interacting. So I have one of my books from college here. I like to save them. And one of the stories that I was reading, I'm going to hold it up here, has a bunch of annotations. And simply, they are annotations that help me understand the text. So I have things that are important. I've got questions down in the margins. I have circled keywords that I need to know or I need to look up. So annotations is a way for your brain to help you process things. Now, so our essential question, if we look up here, if we're on our piece of paper, our essential questions today is what are the basic elements of annotating a text, okay? Take a moment. If you have not put that essential question up, let's go ahead and do that. And before we even go, let's get a definition of annotations, okay? So over off here to the side, I use the example. Annotations is a way to engage in the text, a way to interact, okay? Annotating is a way to, and I'll let you put in the word, interact, engage, comprehend, whatever you want, with the text, okay? And I'm going to make a side note, helps with comprehension, okay? So that way we're able to understand what goes on, all right? So there's a couple basic things. And again, if you need to pause the video at any time to catch up, please do so. This is purposefully done here for the benefit of you being able to go at your own pace, okay? So the very first thing and easiest thing to do is to circle keywords or unknown words, okay? And if you think about this, there's lots of vocabulary that we don't know. So circling keywords or unknown words, okay, helps build vocabulary, okay? It also will help us to understand the context of the story or information, okay? So if there's a word in there that you just completely don't understand, identifying that word, circling that word, and putting in, finding out the definition is going to help you get that information so you have a better context of the story. Okay, so that's our very first item. There's actually only 4, which is super cool. The next thing that we're going to do is we are going to underline claims or main ideas. Okay. Sometimes people like to highlight their main ideas. I like to underline. I just like to have one writing utensil when I am annotating, but that helps me with underlining. Okay, that this I think is important. This is what I need to know. So underlining the claims or the main ideas, okay, helps us identify, let's say, what the information is about. Okay, it helps us quickly. There we go. Quickly review. Okay, if we need to go back. This would also help us later on in our writing. So if we are writing something about the article or the story and we need to find a main idea, we would identify that part. Now, if you're a highlighter and you don't want to highlight, or if you do highlight, you don't want to highlight everything on the page. I've seen people that just like the entire page is yellow because they've just, oh, this is all important. Yes, it's all important, but you just want to find the specifics and the detailed items of what is important. Okay. So we have circling keywords and unknown words. We have underlining claims or main ideas. Our next item that we're going to do is we are going to summarize and respond in the margins. Okay? We summarize and we respond in the margins. Now, by doing this, we are able, this is where we talk. This is where we talk out loud, where we process. It's one thing to just sit and read. It's another to read and then talk out loud. So as I read books, I normally will talk to people about them. Hey, this is what's happening in the story. I ran into one of my good friends the other day. I told her about this, not this book, but a different book that I was reading. And I started to begin to process the story. I was like, oh, this character is great. She's really well developed. And I gave a couple examples that helped me understand the story better. So summarizing and responding in the margins gives readers a chance to recap, okay, and remember, okay. This is also a good place for us to ask questions and be engaged, okay. Which means sometimes if you were to go through this book right here, there are moments where I say, "Is this really true?" ? I didn't think about that, whichever. And you begin to process through questioning. So even if, like, let's say you're watching a movie or a television show and you you kind of question, like, why is he doing that? Well, why did she go through that door? Well, what happened after that? Well, what about this event that before? Like, you are engaging. So the idea of this is to summarize and respond in the margins, okay? Now, one of the other things to keep in mind, and this could probably be done first if it's all contingent, but one of the things that you want to do is you want to number the paragraphs. Okay. Now, I say number the paragraphs. That usually applies to articles. Okay. In an article, like you see here, let me transition over. Like you see here, there is one page, right? And then this one over here, this is another page. It's the same information, just on a different reading level. So if I was to read this, it's great. It's a one-page article. The problem is that if I'm going to reference to something, I need to know what's going on. So what I would do is I would put a 1 up here, a 2 right here, a 3, a 4. When I do that, when I mark up an article with the paragraph numbers, Okay, so I'm going to put number next to each indent on a paragraph. When I do that, what's happening is then I'm able to keep track. So when you're reading a book, you've got the page numbers at the bottom, so you wouldn't need to worry about it then. If I have an article, I'm going to put those numbers so I can keep track. So you could say, oh, in paragraph 6, the main idea I think is this, and you would be able to say that. Okay. Now I've gone fast, but you can go back and review. This video right here is going to offer you some insight. Please take a moment to make sure you read through the assignment descriptions and read through what is being asked. These items will come in handy throughout our course, because if I give you a story, if I give you an article, I'll ask you to annotate, and this is the start of it. Now, this is only part of it, because annotations really can take on any form. So annotating is a way to interact, engage, comprehend with the text. It helps us with comprehension, but there's other things that you can do. This story that I was reading had to do with a man who was dying. And so anytime in the story that there was a reference to death or the afterlife or living, I kind of began to make a purposeful star next to that item. You can use annotations however you see fit, okay? But these are the basic 4 that we are going to work with, okay? At this moment in time, make sure that you have this page of notes set up. Take a small moment. Let's answer the question. Why is it important to annotate? You can pause and write a 2 to 3 sentence response right there. And then take a moment to go through the rest of the assignment. I believe the assignment is asking you to go to your article and start to do some examples of underlining the main event, circling keywords that you don't know, numbering the paragraphs, writing down into the side margins. Because you're doing this online, I would suggest some sort of PDF rewrite. So you can see up over here, sometimes you can do that in Adobe itself. Sometimes you can open up the document with Cami. I think that's a software program that overwrites on PDFs. But take a moment, make sure all of these items are done, that you've read the instructions. I hope you have enjoyed this video on annotations.